What up, nerds, and welcome to another blue episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 529, recorded Monday, May 26, 2025. Tonight, we are talking about Sinners. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Ryan Diesel. What's up, man?
Catch you fuckers at a bad time.
Wow. Speaking of bad time, the timing on that was dog shit. I am sorry about that.
Love it.
Yeah, what's up, man? You ready to chat about the movie of the season?
Yes, finally. We're getting to it a little bit late, but...
You're getting to it a little bit late. I was right on time with my mini episode.
It's true, yeah. Your mini episode dropped a few weeks ago.
I should have made my entire mini episode a bump and just played that midway through this episode.
You could have cut it up and just have a soundboard of yourself.
It would have taken a half hour for it to load, but you know.
Just... next up, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Blues Man Soju. Met Bob down at the old crossroads a long time ago. Made him a deal he couldn't refuse. And got millions of blues, but he could never get rid of me. So that's what he stuck with.
You're the blues man, but also the devil? I don't know if that's how
a lot of lore there.
The tale works.
Oh, yeah. That straight chilling lore, it just gets deeper and deeper.
We ain't scientists.
I didn't gain a skill. I just have a shitload of movies.
Yeah.
I can't.
That's the deal you made, Bob. You know, you made the deal.
You could have driven a harder bargain.
Wise man. Last but not least, making her triumphant return to the podcast. Everybody, welcome back our favorite sexy, horny vampire lover, Caitlin. What's up, Caitlin?
What up? It's your girl Sweat Till You Stank Stains.
Whoa.
My favorite line from the trailer.
Till you stank.
It's the dirty South, after all.
Yeah, it do be hot.
It doesn't take much. Getting it down to brass tacks.
What is it, 74 in here? Fuck.
Just step outside. That's really all it takes. Done.
The shower.
You're only clean in the shower as the water is hitting you. Caitlin, thanks so much for sitting in with us once again. For newer listeners, why don't you let them know about your own podcast? You do the podcast thing. What do you do?
I do the podcast thing sometimes. Yeah, I've got a horror podcast called Plug It Up, which is tastefully named after the scene in Carrie where they throw tampons at her. And I talk about the monstrous feminine and women in horror. And I release every Tuesday, so you can find me over there on wherever you get your podcasts. And I've had all three of you on together. I've had you on solo. I have an episode with Ryan Diesel coming up. So it's good stuff.
Goddamn right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Check out Plug It Up.
Cheating on me, Caitlin.
Not Randy.
Better not be a vampire movie.
Gotta leave him wanting. What if I did Underworld with Randy? How fucking awful would that be for you?
Hate that, I would assume.
I actually might love that. Let's do it.
Sticking it to the man. The blues man, apparently.
The blues man.
Got his ass.
Da-ba-dee-da-ba-die.
Wow. We have a little bit of housekeeping to tackle on our end real quick here. We do have our June poll currently posted over on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this June. The theme for June is hurricane season. The movies are Bodies, 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 Crawl, and I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Whoa, Bob, rounding out May. Here we go. How are those numbers looking?
There was some excitement this week. There was a brief tie, but it has broken. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies in last place with 19% of the vote. Second place, we got I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, 38% of the vote. Crawl sitting on top with 43% of the vote.
Okay, wow, close. Right. A little back and forth there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Still tight.
We haven't covered the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, have we?
No.
But this is the one that features a hurricane.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
There is a new one, yeah, in maybe a month or so.
Go backs and revisit some. It's another one of those.
Man. Guess what the new one's called? Bet you can't guess.
Kind of still. No.
Bloodlines.
Just bloodlines, not even.
I thought I knew what you did last summer, but I was wrong.
I thought, but I now I'm a geriatric and my memory is failing me.
These are all better. These are just. I still know you. I know what you did last summer. It's the
Really?
same. It's the same. They're doing the
Jesus
Scream
Christ.
Halloween.
They're doing the 5 cream. Yeah.
Only like 10 years late. I mean,
always trying to ice skate uphill.
I mean, at this
trying.
point, Halloween 2018 came out 7 years ago. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Shut
What are
your
we doing here?
mouth. You shut.
I hope they do a
your
third
mouth.
Scream movie called just Scream. I hope that's coming down the pipe.
God damn.
That just every 5 years they just say, fuck it. Fuck numbers. Who the fuck cares?
Fuck it.
Run it back.
Did that 7 years ago with Halloween 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't a fresh idea.
It is not. Get your votes in. We'll see what movie we're talking about this June. We are dropping mini casts every other Friday over on Patreon. Like we mentioned, Rand Diesel has one out now on Sinners. You can listen to that. We just dropped one on Severance Season Deuce. Your boy Soju was talking about that.
Whoa. What's the next one coming up, Bob?
Next up is your boy
Tease
Bob.
me.
Your boy Bob's talking about The Ugly Stepsister.
Whoa.
Hey,
Nice.
right. June 6th.
That's,
dropping.
Man, we're covering some good shit on the mini episodes. I gotta say.
Randy, plug it. Plug it, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, these minicasts don't suck, I guess.
That's pretty
Wow.
good.
You know,
You guys are doing
after-
pretty good.
We had a long string of not so interesting movies, and we've got Sinners and fucking
Yeah, our mini cast.
Ugly Stepsister on minicast. So
yeah.
we had to pull one out of the fucking minors for this episode.
Patreon's a place to be.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Check it out. Check all that shit out. Speaking of Patreon, we do have one brand new Patreon supporter we got to give
Thank
shout outs
God.
to. Big gigantic thank you to your boy Wiggy for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love. As is tradition around these here parts, we owe you the straight chilling salute. This one goes out to Wiggy.
Oh, God, slap me in the ass.
Yeah.
I'm wigging out after that ass slap.
It feels a little weird to be saluting somebody's smacking ass on Memorial Day.
No.
Just saying.
It's been a dry spell and you've reawakened me. Thank you, Wiggy.
Oh,
Lord,
you re-reddened this ass.
this ass has been white and boring for so long. And now it's
Been
redder
begging
than...
for it.
redder than
Center's
the
got y'all
devil's dick.
revved up.
Yeah, what the
Hell
fuck's
yeah.
going on here, man?
It's a horny movie. It makes sense.
Yes, it is.
Big thanks, Wiggy. Thanks for the support. That's all we got going on for Patreon news. Do you guys have anything you would like to plug?
I have a big announcement, actually. Our little family is growing a little bit larger these days. We have a brand new sister podcast. I have officially joined the Don't Believe the Hype podcast. Can you believe it? Which is the Arctic Monkeys podcast I've been featured on
A million
20 times like already.
You
So I just kind of forced my way in there.
you just ride along until you just become part of it.
I've always been here.
What?
I've
You
always
guys don't
glommed
remember?
on
I
really
just, I just been here. But no, yeah, I am officially going to be joining the cast this season. It is their 5th season where they're talking about the Arctic Monkeys album AM. And that will start releasing this week. So over the summer, we're going to be reviewing that album. So check me out over at Don't Believe the Hype if you would like a little bit more soju in your weekly diet.
Give my son the juice!
The juice?
Get a little extra juice.
Give my son the juice.
Bob, if you had a son, he'd have plenty of juice.
Too much. Way too
I
much.
hate this.
The metaphors have gotten extra mixed real quick.
Check out Don't Believe the Hype everywhere you get your podcast. Anything else? Is that it?
I
think
my
that's
house is
all
pretty damn clean. Bob?
Squeaky.
This house is clean.
All right, we're getting into the main event. We're talking about Sinners, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
You already pre-ordered this box? We've given it enough time.
I did. I pre-ordered it.
Okay.
I
4K.
did. 4K.
Are they already pre-ordering it for real?
Oh yeah, for sure. Randy.
Dude, like day
Come
after,
on.
Randy.
I'm not in touch with
really. It's
the
been
blues,
like
you know?
4 weeks since the release. I mean,
Randy.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, it's already
should have
shipped,
known better.
Really, you know. Yeah, I got this pre-ordered. It's still in theaters. It's probably going to be there for a minute, and I believe they just announced it's going to hit streaming on June 3rd. So right around the corner. If you want to stream it at home, you can.
do the blues come after the streaming, or when do the blues drop?
I don't remember exactly. I think it's the end of July, something like that. So
Okay.
you know, not too far down the road. Sinners, this is a new movie, rated R, with a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. This was both written and directed by your boy Ryan Coogler, stars Michael B. Jordan ×2, Miles Caton, Saul Williams, Jack O'Connell, Tinaj L. Jackson. I'm going to try and not butcher anybody's names here. Some other lovely people. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back.
Boy, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to jump into my question if we're going to recommend this film here. Brand new release. Sure. I know we've all seen it. First time watch for all of us. Still in theaters. Rain Diesel says, yeah, sure. Check it out.
Yes. No. I'm operating on barely cognizant brain right now. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. But yes, this is definitely a recommend. This is one of the better releases of the year. I said so in the minicast because it's true. It's one of the clearly one of the standouts. Like I have yet to hear more than a couple of people diss this movie on any level, really, and it's been much of it bad faith. So I will say yes, hard yes.
Sweet. Caitlin, what about you?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I saw this in theaters, and if you can get to it in theaters, I would. From what I understand, Ryan Coogler filmed this in IMAX and intended to show it in IMAX, so if you get the chance to do that, do it and have a good time with it. I feel like my theater had a great time. Everyone I've talked to about Sinners had a great time, and this is one I'm looking forward to rewatching at home. So go get out there and check it out.
Cool. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I would highly recommend this. Heading into June, and this is by far top tier of 2025, and just we're rounding out the halfway of the decade. We're right at that spot, and I would say this is a standout for the decade so far. This is really good movie. I liked it a lot. Wow. I would recommend people check it out. Bob, how about you? Why do you hate this film?
Nobody watched this movie.
Rob has to hate it so that we can net out to a medium to lose.
Yeah, we got to. We got to end up in the medium to lose.
You got to force it. You got to get there somehow.
Whoever's last has to take the hate card.
There you go. You're the hater of the week, so prepare yourself.
This movie's great. I saw it twice in theaters actually, and wow. I would recommend if you can make it to the theater to do so. Definitely a beautiful movie, super entertaining movie with great characters and some sweet vampire action. So it's one that you should definitely check out if you have not. And we are gonna be spoiling the shit out of this movie. And here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, thank God we don't have to listen to your voice this week. Caitlin, could you please grace us with your plot synopsis?
I sure can. And it's a long movie. I did my best to make it succinct, but just bear with me. Just go ahead and pull out a little pillow and sit back. So the movie opens in 1932 with twin brothers Smoke and Stack, Smoke in blue, Stack in red. Smoke and Stack are back in Mississippi after spending some time in Chicago, where they ran a con and stole money from both Irish and Italian gangsters. They're back home and plan to use the money to open a juke joint as refuge and retreat for black folks in the Jim Crow South. The sawmill they're buying to use as their location is owned by a member of the KKK, and unbeknownst to Smoke and Stack, he plans to raid the joint the morning after its opening. Smoke and Stack are focused on opening their club, and they recruit several members of their community to join, all of whom are surprised to see them. Those folks include their cousin Sammy, aka Preacher Boy, a very young man with a soulful voice and a talent for playing the blues, local pianist Delta Slim, who has some issues with alcohol, Grace and Bo Chow, married Chinese shop owners, Perline, a local singer and the object of Sammy's affections, and Cornbread, an old friend to work as bouncer. Smoke and Stack also reunite with women from their past. Stack reconnects with Mary, a white-passing woman he grew up with. The two hooked up, but then Stack left for Chicago without a word, hurting and infuriating Mary. Smoke reconnects with Annie, a local hoodoo practitioner with whom he had a child, but that child did not survive infancy. Despite their great loss, the two still love each other, and Annie believes her hoodoo protections worked while the twins were up to their dangerous shenanigans in Chicago. Annie agrees to cook for the juke joint, and Mary plans to crash the party, so both make their way over that night. Elsewhere at twilight, an Irish vampire named Remick drops from the sky, burning in the little sun. Running in the little sun there is left in the day. He's being pursued by Choctaw vampire hunters who trace him to the home of a KKK couple. Remick tricked the couple into inviting him in and quickly turns them into vampires. Opening night of the juke joint goes fairly well with lots of attendees and much merriment. Sammy's blues music is transcendent. He's a once-in-a-generation talent, and his performance entrances the crowd, bringing out the spirits of their ancestors as well as their descendants all in one glorious musical moment. Remick and his two new vampire recruits hear the performance. Remick, being an ancient and lonely vampire, wants to use Sammy's talents to see his own long-past ancestors. They ask for permission to be let in the club, but are turned away. Remick insists that although he's white, he's not racist, and being Irish, he shares a common oppressor with them, and he insists that in his circles, equality is of utmost importance. Mary, knowing that Smoke and Stack could use the money, tries to liaise, but is quickly turned into a vampire herself and is immediately enlisted in their ranks. She is, of course, granted entry back into the joint, though, and she uses an attack Stack. The attack is discovered and interrupted. Mary's chased out. She's shot through, but heals instantly, retreating back to the vampires. But it's too late for Stack. He is gone. Smoke grieves, and the juke joint is cleared of patrons, save our core staff. Remick turns Cornbread while he excuses himself to the bathroom, and Annie puts the pieces together, realizing they're dealing with vampires. All the patrons who left were also turned, and Stack, whose body was locked in a storeroom, revives as a vampire. The group of humans is surrounded, safe now only because vampires need to be invited in. They prepare fortifications like wooden stakes, silver, and garlic. Meanwhile, Remick and his turned vampires try to seduce the survivors into joining the coven, and all of them are having a beautiful time dancing together. Eventually, Remick agrees to leave in exchange for Sammy, whose incredible talent would allow him to see his ancestors again. He shares that vampirism offers immortality, freedom, and an escape from racism that so many of the characters have felt throughout the movie. He also reveals that the landowner is a Klansman and plans to kill any black people remaining the following morning. The survivors refuse, but one eventually acquiesces when they threaten to get her daughter. She screams at them to come on in, and the two sides square up, ready for a battle. A fight indeed ensues, with several survivors being lost and turned into vampires. The only one who doesn't turn is Annie, because she made Smoke promise to kill her before the change took effect. He tearfully obliges, and she is gone. Smoke and Stack tussle inside, while outside Sammy struggles to fight off Remick. He bashes him in the head with his silver-plated guitar, which immobilizes him for a moment. In that moment, Smoke approaches from behind and stakes Remick, finally killing him. As the other vampires grieve, the sun rises, and they are all incinerated. Smoke sends Sammy home to his preacher father and sticks around himself to deal with the clan. He righteously picks them off one by one with his Chicago guns, but gets mortally wounded in the process. As he sits dying, Annie's spirit comes to him as she's breastfeeding their baby in the afterlife. He lights a cigarette, but she calls him by his real name, Elijah, and he insists he puts out the cigarette so as to not get any smoke on the baby. He does and dies alongside her, joining his family in the afterlife. Meanwhile, Sammy returns home, shaken and traumatized. Fast forward 60 years in the 90s, Sammy is a famous blues musician in his 80s. After a performance, he is visited by an unaged Stack and Mary, who had hidden in the juke joint when the other vampires incinerated at dawn. Sammy declines their offer of immortality and plays them a performance, noting that before the carnage, that day was the best day of his life. Stack agrees, since it was the last time he saw the sun and his brother Smoke, and the only time he ever felt free. Phew!
That was so much more succinct than my attempt at summarizing.
Thank you.
Well done.
A lot of plot. It's a long movie.
Yeah,
It is a lot of plot.
definitely.
Yeah, it was long, but I didn't quite realize like it was 2:17. I thought it was just over 2. And one of the things I was gonna kind of mention today was like I kind of wanted like 20 more minutes to explore this more thing or this more thing. Dude, I was just the whole movie. I was totally engrossed, and by the end of it, I thought, man, some of that went by just too quick, and I was just like, I wanted more.
There's a lot of ground to cover. Yeah.
I wanted more, like a little bit more vampire setup, lore.
I was gonna say,
like
you're a
the
vampire
Irish
boy.
I am, yeah. And even like potentially more like KKK setup, or just like I just wanted more.
Well.
Honestly, I was like, I don't know. I was like, it did the runtime did not bother me. I didn't even realize it was 2:17.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think that the runtime bothered me. I think like if I'm gonna like have a complaint about this movie, it's kind of still the same. I haven't seen it a second time yet, so I don't know if it'll hold the second time. But I did feel like there was too much ending. Like I feel like there was too much wrap up, too much epilogue. Even though it like putting that last scene in the mid credit is like a weird choice to me. It seemed unnecessary, and it seemed like that's just like that's really like important to the end of the movie. I think if you're gonna show that, then really like make it part of the movie. It doesn't need to be mid credit. But I don't know. Aside from that, though, like yeah, I liked the amount of historical drama and to vampire horror ratio. I really liked that ratio. I thought it ramped up really organically, but it really quickly. And then like the fever pitch really takes off. You could maybe squeeze in maybe another like 10 minutes of vampires and I wouldn't complain, but I'm like, it was the setup that I was really, really interested in. I really, really liked the historical drama segments, probably most, because they then paid off when it got to the big bombastic shit. So that's just me.
Yeah. I agree. The first time I watched this, I thought the character introduction was like, I don't know, half the movie, maybe half the runtime. And then watching it the second time, I actually like checked my phone to see how long the movie had been on before like we got to the vampire stuff. And it was only like maybe 40 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, there's like way more vampire action in this than I had initially thought, which kind of surprised me. But I guess they cover so much ground and you meet so many interesting people, and it feels like you really get a sense of who they are so quickly that you're like, oh, this must have been at least an hour to cover all this ground, but it really doesn't take that long. I could have used more of that, honestly. The vampire stuff, I think, works metaphorically very well. I didn't necessarily love the vampire execution, but like the, just cruising around the Mississippi Delta with Smoke and Stack and just like meeting their clan as they're assembling the night is just so engrossing. And I love each and every character that you meet along the way, and they're all handled with such care. I could have used more of that, honestly. If you're going to add anything to it, like, yeah, let me hang out with these people a little longer, before the vampire stuff kicks off.
The whole I'm assembling a team montage is very solid. I could have used another 5 minutes with Delroy Lindo's introduction at the train station at the railroad crossing. He's so funny. So much of this movie is funny, and it hits exactly right. And his comedic relief and Cornbread's comedic relief were both great. But yeah, getting their introductions was fantastic. The introduction with Annie was super sexy, very hot. It was it was great.
Yeah.
I'm surprised by Bob saying that, because honestly, I thought the same. Like before Bob just said that, I would assume the same thing, that actually the setup took more portion of the movie, because and when I say more vampire stuff, I don't even necessarily mean like the action portion of it. I just felt like all of a sudden, like I thought half the movie was done, and then they introduced the idea that there was a vampire in the movie. Like I was working under that assumption coming into this podcast, that we spent half the movie getting to know these characters, setting them up, going to the club and stuff like that. And then around the halfway point, for the first time, a vampire shows up. The Choctaw Indians are like pursuing him or whatever, and to take him to the house. And that's when he shows up at like the halfway point. That's what I was like working under the assumption as. So that's crazy.
It felt like that to me too.
Yeah, no, like I felt like it's interesting to hear that too. I agree. Like I was thinking that it like amped up pretty quickly, but if you take it from that moment on, I think it is a pretty gradual incline of like there's like a parallel path story of I forget the vampire king's name or whatever. But
Remick.
Thank you.
Soju.
But
I wish.
Hey, take it easy. It was
In the
Caitlin.
studio is the Dark Lord Blood.
The Dark Lord Blood.
So the Dark Lord Blood and his Irish jig dancers are kind of working their way over, and they kind of do this this cat and mouse back and forth outside. But it seems like I think that it feels like it ramps up quickly because of the way that what's her name, Lee, or is the shopkeep, she invites them in. What's it?
Grace.
Is it Grace? Okay. She's like, come on in or whatever. And it's just like, oh, fuck. Our one lock from these guys is completely gone because she's in a fragile state. Shit. I don't know. It seems like that just really set things off. And I mean, it did, but I guess it just felt that way. But I really liked the intro part too. I kind of I wonder how much of that was our expectations being set by the fact that we knew vampires were coming because the trailers let that slip hard.
Actually, I had no idea. I never saw this trailer.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know
the
vampire thing was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a few people that had no idea that it was a horror movie, or they knew that it was, a thriller or a drama, but they didn't know that it was going to be supernatural with vampires in it.
I didn't know that at all. I actually didn't really know anything about this movie. So when we were assembling the characters in the setting, and I was like, this is amazing. I was texting the boys. I was like, this movie is fucking so good. Yeah, no, don't watch trailers anymore.
Yeah.
It's so much better to just
Yeah.
watch a movie. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about this movie and just accept what people have been telling. Oh, this is a good movie. You got to watch. And it's so much better. It's 1,000,000 times better than watching a trailer. Don't ever watch a trailer ever again.
Well, I got the trailer before Mickey 17. I went to see that in theaters, and I got the trailer, and I was like, oh, this is summertime South, sultry. It's giving True Blood. And I even said that to Tony. I was like, it's like True Blood. And then you get the vampire turn, and I was like, what did I say? What did I say? Crushed it.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, this movie stands alone without the supernatural forces, and then when that ramps up, it adds another layer of something that I love, vampires. So this movie was it's created in a lab for me to enjoy it. It's got so much humor. Someone cared. Ryan Coogler cared so much about historical accuracy with there were Chinese shop owners in the Mississippi Delta at that time they have the inclusion of the wooden nickel and plantation currency and Jim Crow South. And just, he cared so much about getting things right down to the fashion, the music. It's just a real triumph of a movie. And there's a reason that it's setting all these records for an original IP.
It's true though, and it's not just that it's the dedication to that stuff sells the drama portion or whatever, but it really blossoms once you deviate from that, right? Once you start getting some of these supernatural things, the fucking. Let's just talk about the scene of the movie, which is the big musical number, the big musical scene with I can't remember names.
Miles Caton.
Miles Caton's character just wailing, and the fucking people coming in I was just engrossed. I was ear to ear smiles in that theater, and it was a full theater. I saw it on opening night, and everybody was fucking jazzed about this shit. It was just
I was
cool.
oh, movies are back, man. This is a movie.
Right.
This is
That's
a fucking movie. This is cinema, baby.
Story. Yeah,
well, and it's so impressive because Miles Caton at this point in time is 20 years old, according to his Wikipedia. So he might have been 19 when this was filmed.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah, he's got an incredibly soulful voice, and I think he did a great job. The credits even list him as introducing Miles Caton, this is his first big role. He did a fantastic job. A lot of the playing that he did and recording that they did of that number was live on set. He did record a studio piece for it, but a lot of that was live, and to be able to layer in the ancestors and the descendants, and I have to imagine that was a really complicated piece to shoot, and they pulled it off really well. It looks so good.
Something I learned looking at trivia for this is certain scenes of this were shot on an IMAX camera, which is 70 millimeter, medium format. And I didn't know that you can only shoot consecutively for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes on one of those cameras because the film is so large. So that scene, I mean, I don't know, what is it, at least a 6 minute scene, maybe longer? They had to do that in sections and then stitch it all together.
Oh my god!
I had no
Seems
idea. Damn.
insane. And I think they actually did light the barn on fire, like, after they shot everything else. So like it really is burning down towards the end of the movie, which is super rad.
crazy.
And I love the idea of like a literal barn burner. Like this dude's playing a song.
Yeah.
That's
The roof is
Yeah.
on fire, quite literally. Like,
Yeah.
no,
nice
and I like
touch.
the idea that like there's the movie starts with that. Actually, there is this kind of folklore introduction where it's like there's generational talents that are able to bring out, connect us on all planes ancestrally and otherwise. And I didn't expect the movie to open like that. I knew that this was going to have vampires and stuff. So I was expecting maybe some vampire folklore. I was not expecting music folklore, but music is such an integral part to this movie that it makes total sense now, having watched it. But that was really cool to get this generational talent and have him play and have everybody be connected and have it be so resonant that even Remek's ancestors, like he could see his ancestors when he listened, and that's why he wanted Sammy so badly. And I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go.
Well, I that set piece was amazing, but Remek's dance circle scene was also top notch for me.
There's a lot
Rocky
of
Road
great
to
scenes
Dublin.
around music, and like
Yeah.
this movie is fucking so sick in terms of like finding like that through line of music and tapping into that like directly, pointedly, saying so. Like like you said, it says it on its face. It wears that on its sleeve. But you're right. Like this is the thing that the trailers couldn't convey to us. I thought that the music would be incidental, place setting, that sort of thing. No, it is the point almost, like,
Yeah.
or at least it's the heart of the point.
Yeah, and as from what I understand, I don't want to step on your toes, Bob, with any trivia, but Ludwig Göransson, I believe, is the guy that did the music for this, and he's worked with Ryan Coogler on most of his projects. I think they went to school together, but he was another person that cared so much about this. I was watching some TikToks about people talking about Rocky Road to Dublin in particular and being like, why does it sound so good? Like, why is it so catchy? And it's an existing song, but apparently one thing that Ludwig Göransson did was layer 808 drum beats with it. So it's got this like hip hop quality to it underneath, but it's also got this layer of Irish jig where it's like, it's supposed to be uniting these two cultures. It's supposed to be uniting listeners. Stuff like that is so interesting to me. And I love thoughtful details like that. I think it's so cool. And I mean, it got me. Rocky Road to Dublin's going to be on my Spotify Wrapped for sure.
He's
remix.
such a good producer. But yeah, before we got on, I was telling Caitlin, I was like, every year for St. Patrick's Day, that's always been on my playlist. And I always say to myself, like, why do I only listen to this during St. Patrick's Day? And I was like, now it's bringing it back or whatever, heading into June. But I will say too,
Stop it, all right?
I have said this before with other movies. We don't get a whole lot of them coming out, especially like within the horror realm. But I do have this a type of appreciation for a kind of Southern Gothic tale or something that sets itself within the South in this kind of way, because it's such a in some ways beautiful setting that is just riddled with so many ugly things. But then I love being able to pull out the kind of beauty that is involved in it. So you have like films like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, or even like the third BioShock movie kind of sets itself within that realm. Well, gaming, yeah, but I mean, but anything that kind of is able to kind of touch on this kind of like era and this setting and kind of bring out the culture in it, because it is so rich, and I love how they like put so many things in there. But I really love how, using that setting, how they played with this idea of religion. And I thought it was quite an interesting dichotomy, using the music almost as this religion to kind of highlight the same kind of ways I guess I see Christianity kind of split during this era. So you start off with like Preacher Boy and his father, and he's trying to like influence his life in this kind of way. And then on the same other end, you have the KKK, who like takes those kind of like values and twists them and turns it into this like ugly aspect or whatever. And in the film, music is almost kind of like treated as a type of religion in the same kind of way, where it's like bringing all these people together. It's like connecting them,
it's transcendent.
their ancestor. Yeah. But at the same time, too, there is this group that uses it as their religion, as with the vampires over here or whatever. And so using that was so interesting to me, because a lot of, even at the beginning, I thought, you know, you see the blues guitar, you see the gore, and like knowing nothing about this film, I was like, oh, is this going to be some movie about like the crossroads? And even taking that, it's interesting to think like the idea of the blues. I love the conversation that he had about the blues. Like, this is something we brought with us, because even that idea, that legend of meeting the devil, like the blues comes from the devil, and like this weaving of religion into these types of things is so interesting to me. So I love the dichotomy that they played with of like this music as religion versus like the underlying idea of Christianity that has existed so much in the South and in Mississippi and in that culture at the time. It's I thought that was like really well done. It was just brilliant to me.
Yeah. Blues comes from, you know, slavery, oppression. You know, field hollers is where it really started, and then eventually, you know, developed from there. And I think Delta Slim in this movie does a really good job at sort of explaining like where the blues comes from without saying like, hey, this is where the blues comes from. You know, he's you know, talking to Sammy. I love the line he drops. He's like, son, I got socks older than you. Like, what do you know about the blues? But he tells that horrific story about his friend, how he and his friend made a bunch of money playing this music, and then some white dudes found out about it and they lynched him and stole his money. And then after he finishes the story, he just starts humming this tune, and they start writing a song right there on the spot. So you see like that sort of like horrific moment just sort of like leads directly into where the blues does come from. And I love that moment in the scene. It's like, you know, expository, but they don't explain it. They just show it in a really true way.
And they had the sound design for that is cool too, because you've got some sound effects that are going on in the background where you can, you know, he's narrating the story and we're not getting a flashback, which I think would have been, it just would have felt out of place in that scene, and out of place in the movie, I think. But instead of that, we get this sort of auditory journey, and we get the experience of it, and helps us understand it in real time and have it be a little bit more emotionally impactful. It was a really cool scene.
I like it.
Well, and something that makes that was a good point about that makes the kind of characters rich. Because another thing I was going to point out about his character is of how that has affected him too, of how like the whole movie he's just like, whatever movie I get, I just buy on liquor, because, you know, it's affected him in such a way of where his friend was killed for having money, and so now he just lives this life where he plays the blues, and like that's his emotional escape, and that's like his emotional kind of therapy, because as soon as he becomes overwhelmed, he starts singing, right? And so like that's what it's about for him, and everybody kind of in some ways treats him like, oh, it's like the corn liquor or whatever, and kind of treats him like bad in that kind of way. But that story really made it make sense of why he would live that way. I thought that was such a great device. That was so good.
They do that with
like, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, they did that with a lot of the characters too, in this sort of montage of assembling their crew for the juke joint. Like, they give people enough backstory, but not enough to where it's like tragedy porn, where it's like, oh, their baby died and that's why I need to care about Annie, or like, oh, this guy's friend was lynched and that's why I need to care about Delta Slim. It's like the characters are fleshed out enough that I care about them because they're interesting to watch on screen in present time, but also because of the backstory that I've gotten through exposition. And all of the characters felt well-rounded in that way, and they just felt real. I don't know. I was interested in everybody's screen time. I was like, yeah, give me more of them.
For real. Like, Annie is not like, I haven't heard enough people sing the praises of that character in this movie, because she is like not only is she an interesting character that's well portrayed and all this stuff. But she's also like, she's the voice of reason and also somebody who doesn't sit back. She fucking takes control of the situation. She is the leader of the group for de facto.
When she says you're talking to me right now, I was like, yeah, you are. You're talking to Annie right now, vampire. And when she says your body didn't forget me, I was like,
yeah, that's a line.
God damn.
Jesus Christ. No, that whole thing is like, and when they first see each other, when Smoke and her reconnect or whatever, there's this interesting camera work that's done where like correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a few weeks since I've seen this, but I remember it being like the edges of the frame started like waving like it was behind Smoke, like there was some sort of something going on there, some sort of she's mystical in nature, both in story and in camera, like the way that they treat her. And that's the first bit of mysticism that we see in this. And I think that, again, goes back, again, to what you're talking about with the religious aspect, Juice. Like, what I see when I watch this movie, I think that what it's talking about, the way it talks about music, is about as praise and worship, whatever form that takes. And I don't think that is... that it like his Caton's father being like dead set, like, no, blues is of the devil, this gospel music is of Christ, and that's the only thing that praises, that sends praises into the heavens. That's clearly not true by the end of this movie. This movie makes a stand that is not true. These sinners, the titular sinners of this movie, like tap into something directly throughout the course of this, so much that like that other cultures want to tap into it too, as a method of them tapping into their own history. Like, I don't know, and there's something really interesting about the way this treats music. It also like Remix's whole thing is not necessarily like, they can kind of make this demonic motherfucker pretty understandable to some degree, where this is like, like what you do is clearly you're putting something into the world that means something. It's got, like, they don't call it soul for nothing. There is soul in this music, and I want a piece of that. I want to feel that again, because I am undead, and like my access to my own history has been swallowed up by this thing, and now I'm here to swallow up yours too. And so there's also like this like
it's a great metaphor, right?
Appropriation like level going on, like the white Irish settler or whatever comes in. He's been put upon, and by co-opting or trying to co-opt the language and the music of even more more mistreated minorities in this society, he's trying to make his way through and like break out and like get on top again. Basically, there's something really fucking interesting happening with that, man. I did not expect that, and that is, to me, the thing that separates this from just your typical vampire movie, honestly, like in terms of the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of underlying religious aspects in this too that is highly tied to Christianity. So I did enjoy like the hoodoo representation and stuff like that. And also one of the reasons why, like when the Choctaw Native American showed up, I was like, "Oh, this is getting even richer." And that was like one reason why I was saying like, "Oh, I kind of almost wish we had a little bit more from."
Oh, I could use a mini series about Choctaw vampire hunters.
Yeah, vampire hunters. Yeah, because dude. But I mean, his name is Elijah, and oh God, I had so many like Christian things on the top of my mind that I was going to mention, but God damn it. There's so many like religious aspects of what was I just thinking about? The prophecy or whatever.
You sound like me right now.
I know. Oh, when they read like the Bible verse at the beginning. So like this movie is like he has him recite the Bible verse or whatever at the beginning. And it's all about temptation, and like God will not give you more temptation than like you can handle. And then one of the big things too that was not like necessarily religious based, it was like culture based, of like him talking to Smoke, where it's like his brother, and he's like, we can live free, we have the power and all these things. And on one side you have this idea of like the person he loves the most, of his brother, and the idea that they've been chasing of like freedom and not being oppressed and having control of their own lives. And then on the other end, you have Annie, who, even though she is like, we have this hoodoo practice, she's like saying this sense of like the afterlife and there's this Bible verse of like, if you lose your soul, if you gain everything but lose your soul, what do you have? Nothing or whatever. And then that's like what she's saying of like, no, like you can't lose your soul even if you live forever, because you have people waiting for you in this afterlife or whatever. And Elijah is a prophet in the Bible who ultimately never dies. He just ascends into heaven after like denouncing a false god or whatever, Balal, whatever, anything. But so it's so interesting. Yeah, anything, whatever. But it's so interesting how they're like playing off of it's like so interwoven about like, oh, and his name's Elijah at the end, and like, oh, they're like all dressed in white, and like the afterlife is so important, and to like not lose your soul. But then you have these like this temptation over here was set up at the beginning of the movie of like, God won't let you be tempted more, but then they're like, oh, there's like this freedom and this power. It's so rich. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
And I gotta say, it wouldn't take much for me to be convinced. Like, I would have been like, I'll join the vampire circle. Like, I'll get some. Did you see Cornbread? He had his jaw blown off and he was still like, having a great time. I was like, yeah, this is where I want to be.
I didn't realize that. I guess in hoodoo practices they were aware of vampires. Like Annie was originally calling them like hags. I think is that what haints, which is I'm not familiar with that term, but I guess it's a sort of vampire.
Yeah, it's a spirit. There's a practice in certain parts of the Deep South about painting your porch haint blue so that it like deters, and that's the color of Annie's cabin was haint blue, so like it's supposed to deter these kind of like bad spirits or demonic entities.
Hell yeah. Well, that's super rad. And her like immediately clocking vampires after that was an idea. Like I don't know, I just never really considered hoodoo practitioners being aware of vampires in any way. And then she's like, we need steaks, we need garlic. She pulls out the pickled garlic, and they have that sort of nod to the thing where they all pass the jar around and eat the garlic. Great scene. Delta Slim almost pukes, and they think he's a vampire, but he's like, I'm
just drunk. I'm just fucked up.
Yeah.
Did you forget who I am?
Great moments in there. I do the piece that like really the cherry on top for me was whenever the end of the movie happens and the KKK roll up and they think they're going to get the drop on the Smokestack twins, and he just comes out with these guns blasting and fucks them all up. That is like
when he pulls it out of the dirt, like the one that he had buried, I was like, oh my God.
The Tommy gun.
Let's fucking go. Yeah. And he just kind of unceremoniously shoots the leader in the face. I was like, yeah, that's what he deserves. Yeah. Like, let's end it like this. This is so righteous. Yeah.
Yeah, he's having this wonderful like vision of his wife and child, and the dude interrupts him as he's bleeding out, dying, and he just shoots him again. It's like such a great like cherry on top. And then like to Randy's point, there's like even more great stuff that happens with Buddy Guy playing the older version of Sammy. I
didn't know him on site when I saw that. I was like, so I missed that.
He's old. He's like 90 or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say like he is not a young man. Like he's been around for ever.
I read this thing that Ryan Coogler said that when Buddy Guy was on set and he was playing live too, that you could hear like a feather drop. Everyone was so quiet and so enthralled by what was happening, which makes total sense to me. And I love the way they did the scars on his face. Like it came together. The bar was named Pearline's. I was like, oh my God. I see you.
I didn't even clock that. Damn, dude. Jesus.
There's also one more detail about the Choctaw. Apparently, the Irish and the Choctaw have a history of helping one another out. So that was a really interesting inclusion, I think, that, when there were Irish immigrants being treated poorly, the Choctaw, there's a statue of the Choctaw people in Ireland that you can go visit. But little details like that, I keep saying someone cared so much because I imagined it to be a large team. Like they brought in documentarians and historians for this, but Ryan Coogler cared so much. And I think that will always endear me to a project when someone cares enough to include that kind of stuff, even if you're not going to get it on the first watch or even if you never get it. But the fact that it's there is so special.
Well, this movie could have been like this. I think you're right. And I honestly think that like part of what make the strength at the core of this movie is that I could see a version of this movie that was had its budget cut by like 3/4, and it would still be incredible. Like that. This is a really like director driven film. This is a film that is like you said, they care so much. They're given the range that they need. Like they're given a blank check to do what they want here, but it's not a blank check. It's a fucking huge budget movie, and I like that they got their return on investment. I think speaks to doing that instead of interfering, which we have often maligned on this show, like studio interference and all that stuff. It doesn't seem like it had a ton of that. It seems like they let this man do what was in his head and do it with a budget that a blockbuster would be happy to have. And it works. You know what I mean? It doesn't always work, but it's worth rolling the dice and letting somebody's vision come to life, because when that happens, you can feel the care in the making of it. This movie could have been made for a lot less and still have been great, but we just got that added like fucking whipped cream topping on there because they allowed this man to use money to tell the story that he wanted to tell in the first place.
That's what I get expensive these days.
It is, yeah. Some of that fucking
IMAX whipped cream.
That dairy ain't cheap.
Speaking of, did you guys notice the aspect ratio shift? I saw this in IMAX, and when the big action scenes happen or when the big music scenes happen, the screen opened up wider, and I was like, "Oh, let's go!" That's when I was like, "This is cinema, baby. This is movies."
I completely missed it because I was too in the movie.
You were engrossed
in the movie.
Yeah,
I never noticed it either. Honestly, just watching the story, I guess. I think the Michael B. Jordan playing twins in this, like when they're first introduced, you're like, oh yeah, he's definitely playing two characters. But I immediately just like forgot it was the same dude playing twins, and I was like, oh, they're just twins. Like
when he passed the cigarette, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah. He kills
the different
both roles.
Personalities. Yeah.
Really
different
impressive.
mannerisms, different everything.
Here, man. That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Yeah. One who's like a lot more like jovial and kind of carefree, and then one who's a lot more serious, and they're like disagreements
with
about,
reason.
with the wooden nickels and like the making the money, and then like one's with the nephew, and you get to see how how he's more like kind of a little carefree and stuff. Yeah, I liked it. I like the performances were really good.
Yeah, and I didn't really clock what you said in the synopsis, Caitlin, that one was in red, one was in blue. I really did, I just didn't cognitively think about that. But you're right, like they did their due diligence with.
They helped us keep track. Yeah, I like that they had.
Didn't even notice.
They had a stack in a fedora and smoke in a scally cap, I think is what it's called, scully cap. I'm not sure, but it's like there was like nods to the Irish and Italian gangsters that they were with in Chicago. I was like, that's it's so good, it's so cool.
Stop it, all right?
Yeah. The whole cast is incredible. We haven't even mentioned Haley Steinfeld really hardly at all in this conversation. She kills it as well. That mouth spitting scene is might be a bit much. Might be a bit much for me, but I think a lot of people enjoyed that.
I'm not into it.
Her covered in it's Randy's background right now, but like everyone when they turned and they fed, I guess, as vampires, they have blood all over their mouths and down their chests. And I think with her costuming being very sort of this like pale, gauzy pink, it's so striking, her image as a vampire. And if I'm being perfectly honest, one of my, like, if I had to rank the performances, hers is nearer the bottom for me, but she is so striking as a vampire and so integral to that turn. She's just really fun to watch on screen.
I agree. Like, I would also kind of rank her performance a little bit lower, but I honestly don't even know if it comes down to the performance so much as I feel like her character was like, I was really interested in like, she's kind of like a midpoint between the two factions at the beginning. That's why she's the one that decides to go outside and all stuff. And I think it comes home and it works out fine or whatever. But I wanted to see a little bit more of her, and it really seemed like she got cut off at the knee. Where I feel like there was more that was needing to be done with that character. But I couldn't pinpoint what that was, and ultimately I'm not upset with how it worked out, so I don't know. But I just felt like I remember being in there being like, man, she's just gone now. Like that was quick. It felt quick that she was gone. She was so integral, and then she's just a different character suddenly.
When they brought her back, I was like, did she turn? Okay, I was like, there's no way she turned yet already, and then she did, and I was like, okay, I'm still in. Like, you know what? She's doing. I love her as a vampire. Like, I want to see her do vampire shit.
Yeah. They're all
it
gonna
feels
die.
quick. I don't know exactly where the time happens when she changes, but it's, over an hour into the movie for sure. So like you get a chunk of time with her, but it does still feel kind of quick.
I think that's really just my biggest thing with this movie is I just want more. And really, I want more because it's all so rich and good. Like the setting up of these characters, and they give you just enough to be, of her. That is an interesting aspect of where she is like half black or something, a quarter black. And
I think an eighth, like she's white passing is the point.
Yeah, she passes as white, but she wants to be with Stack, but he's like scared of the persecution that will come, and he's like worried about like her safety, and like that's so rich and interesting that you just want more. Yeah, you just want more experiences between these people, because as good as the lore is, especially between like the religion, because even like the dad, we don't really spend much time with the relationship with Preacher Boy and his dad, which could have been even fleshed out. The opening scene where they're in the church and that type of community and that type of worship and how that plays out is we only get a little bit of that. And I think I just want, everything is so well passed off that the little dialogues that we have between people that feel like there's such a rich well there in so many situations, even like the woman who's married and, she ends up, sleeping with Preacher Boy or whatever. And it's just, I just want more of it, which is like my biggest critique. It feels quick because I'm just like, talk more, talk a little bit, talk for 5 more minutes about this.
That mouth a little more.
We're very we're spoiled for Flanagan-esque long monologues, I think. But like I could see it. There's probably several realities in which this was a prestige drama instead of a movie, and I think that could work. But I also think that there's like something great about truncating it into this tidier package that like leaves you wanting more and like leaves you to sort of like fill in those gaps for yourselves. Like if this was any other blockbuster, it would be like, oh, what's that character doing? We're going to find out in 3 years when Sinners Part 2 comes out, and we're going to like follow Perline and her gang. And like,
we don't.
No, but this is not that kind of movie. And I'm so appreciative that this is just like consolidating all that stuff, because not every story needs to have every detail laid out in front of us. As much as we want more, that's the ideal scenario of walking out of a movie, is wanting more but feeling satisfied anyway. And that's how I feel. Like I want more in the sense that I want to see it again, not so much that I need to know what happened to these characters. I can infer, I can come up with headcanon, whatever, but it's so strong that I just want to see more of it.
Well, I think that's what's so masterful about this, is that when you do sit and think about it a little longer, like when I think about Sammy's father, and we don't get a ton of time with him, we don't get a lot of like backstory on him, but what we do get, we meet Sammy's mom and Sammy, and they both are like, their clothes have holes in them, they've been working, they've been like doing physical labor. We cut to Sammy's dad, nicest clothes in the family, not doing any physical labor at the church. So it's like, you get like there's some things to be inferred there about the role in his family and the kind of support that he does or does not provide. There's little things like that I think make this movie so interesting, and we're able to dig into that backstory ourselves with some like your own little headcanon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's like movies about, I'm sure they're like how many fucking biopics are there about like a person who became a big star or whatever at whatever music, who had a fraught relationship with their dad in particular, and often around religion and the lack of the sinfulness of music, the kind of music that person was like. That's a trope for a reason. I think that there's like, it's such fertile ground that we just like feel a little short shrifted at first, like maybe like if you think about it, huh? Okay. Well, it's like anyway, but it's like I think that like that the fact that there's pocket stories that you can look at and dissect and headcanon out is just so fucking great. It speaks volumes of the piece as a whole. And as much as I would like kind of love to see the miniseries version of this from fucking Reality X or whatever, I'm perfectly satisfied with this. And I think maybe that just gives it more opportunity like a longer form would have given it more opportunity to falter rather than to succeed.
You could have a whole, I mean, pretty much a movie or a 45-minute segment, hour segment of this film showing Chicago. You really could. I mean, with this, as good as Michael
B. Jordan.
Fucking yes.
Jordan.
As good as his performance is,
Michael
like
Jordan.
he could get my boy Michael Jordan.
MJ
Could
Chicago Bulls.
carry
Yeah,
his
23.
his own film being these characters. So yeah, you could have like a Chicago film. And I agree. It's really just like, it's crazy that we talk so much about how shitty movies can feel so long at an hour and a half, and this almost 2.5 hour movie, I just felt like it moved too fast, which is crazy.
Yeah.
There was just so much in there.
I was actually
it somehow feels overstuffed.
when
somehow.
that mid credit sequence rolled. I was actually like pretty happy because I was like, sick. There's more. Like it's not quite over.
Well, let's talk about that scene because, like, what is that scene like? How does that alter what came before it? Because to me, it's like for obvious, like these are characters that survived, but did not come after Caton's character, Buddy Guy. They did not come after him for all these years based on a promise. And like, I think that, like, again, going back to that central idea, the metaphor of like, what is appropriation? What can music can cross barriers, but some of it is sacrosanct to you or to your culture in some way too, and keeping it that way, like keeping some of that for you and for people that come from where you're from or whatever, but allowing it to exist in the world for others as well, as long as it's not like stolen from you. Like, I think that I don't know, there's something about that, like Smoke's last thing that he said to his brother was to make him promise to leave the music maker alone to do his thing and not acquire that as part of the groupthink of the vampires. And because his brother is his brother, he manages to, I guess, supersede vampire impulse and say, okay, we're going to leave him be. I don't know. There's something fucking interesting there too that could be like, that's probably beyond my understanding because I'm a dumb guy, but there's something interesting to it.
The idea of like the different kinds of like musicians that they talk about at the very beginning of the movie and how they can pierce the veil and like communicate with the ancestors. I think music in a very literal sense allows you to do that because we can go back and listen to these recordings from these old blues musicians anytime we want to. And it is like a cool way to time travel. I think at the end of this movie, you're sort of seeing a more literal representation of that with this old blues man who's like refused to put the guitar down, refused to give up his dream to take the safer route. And because of that, you can still go see him play these amazing things live. So I think there's like a kind of maybe a literal interpretation of what the movie's talking about at the beginning of the movie happening at the end of the movie. It's kind of how I read it anyways, if that makes sense.
No,
I also liked the turn. I liked the ending where he's old and he's playing the blues because you have this character who's young and impressionable, and I love how we get to spend time with him and his uncles and how he looks up to them and how he's influenced by these people and how he feels like he finally belongs somewhere. And everyone's murdered because of him. You know, they say the vampire uses that trick of like, I came for you, you called to me or whatever. And so this kind of survivor skill, especially going to the only place he has left, which is his father, who has a church, who's immediately like saying like, let go of the guitar, son, like put it down. This is what I warned you about. This is what I told you would happen. You brought the devil. You killed all.
yourself!
But he doesn't fall into that trap. He doesn't allow that guilt or that, you know, music is the devil, or like, this is what's wrong with you, and I tried to tell you not to do that, and that's what's wrong, to like ruin his life, to not let others put that onto him of like, this is bad, or like, I did this because of you, or whatever. I love that kind of messaging at the end, because it doesn't just apply to the idea of music. It's that kind of again, kind of underlying religious thing, like the manipulative practice that religion can have when you take something and you kind of twist it to get what you want, to use it to your own means or whatever. And I thought that was really powerful, because even at the end, once everybody's dead and he has nothing left, even his dad is still like, give this up, come to my way and listen to my way of thinking or whatever. And he ultimately ends up this old man,
well, Stack tries to convince him again. Like that's the interaction, is him being like, you're an old guy. You don't have to go out, in a hospital bed or whatever he says, something along those lines. And ultimately his character's just like, no, I'm good. He's like, he's a standard bearer. He's a lighthouse keeper for something true that like his father couldn't recognize because it didn't fall into line. But there is clearly a soul. There is clearly some sort of mystical nature to the things that he is bringing to the table, to what he's tapping into something that supersedes a religion and goes deeper than that, goes more, I don't know, primal than that in some ways. And I just think that's so fucking great. Like, I think that's like, it's rejecting tradition to preserve tradition in some ways. I don't know, or to preserve truth in some way. I don't know. I'm putting this poorly, but it's just very, very compelling shit. Very, very fun to think about. And it's not every day that you get a vampire movie that really makes you think that hard.
More importantly than this very good analysis is that Stack had a knuckle duster ring that said Stack on it.
He did.
Which was cool as fuck.
That was very, very
and
sick.
also, like, that scene is literally fucking a brother playing music to take his brother, a young man still, back to the past that they shared together. It's generations. It's brothers separated by generations conveying something from that previous, from the past. Like, that's just powerful shit if you get right down to it. I'm sorry, I had to add that too.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right.
I think it's about time to land that plane. So any other thoughts you guys have, go ahead and throw them into your little wrap up here. But let's rate this thing out of 5. Caitlin, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about Sinners?
I really love Sinners. I know that we have a lot of horror coming out on the latter half of the year, but I have a feeling that this will make my top 5. I really enjoyed this. I have a few friends that have yet to see it, and I've been offering, I was like, I'll see it again in theaters. Like, I really enjoyed my experience in theaters. I look forward to watching it at home. I think the writing is really good. I like the thoughtfulness therein. I think the acting is good. I think the music is fantastic. The costuming, everything was really thoughtfully put together and really impressively done. The only minor sort of tweak complaint that I have is that there were a few shots near the end where I think it's when Smoke is dying and they're like reflecting back to when Annie wanted to be like her soul to be saved, or the baby, or I don't know, there was something, but like we get a literal flashback to something that happened 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, I don't need that. I was here for that, like I was watching the movie, I don't need that part. Yeah. So other than that, I think this movie is fantastically done, and I would love to see more types of properties like this. I will always love a sexy vampire movie. We didn't get into some of the hotness, but this is really hot. I mean, it's sultry southern summertime, and it's really sexy on top of all these other important themes of religion and oppression. And it's just, I don't know. I would be remiss if I didn't quote Miles.
Eat your ass.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't quote our friend Miles again. That his Letterboxd review, I believe, said around 10% of the dialogue is about eating pussy. And when I read that, I was like, "There's no way." And then when I saw it, I was like, "God damn, Miles was right. He was really right."
Maybe like 9.5%.
Maybe like 9.5%. It's
it's a game of inches, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was like, the Munchers survive. Let's go. It was really funny. And I think that so much of this.
That was my senior quote, I think. Munchers survive.
Munchers survive. But between the comedy and the sort of like very human touching parts of this and the vampire action, this is like a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Solid 4.5 out of 5. Ray and Diesel, how do you feel?
I mean, pretty similarly. That was a really good call. Like, that was something I noticed when you were talking about the sort of like a little bit overly hand-holdy flashbacks and sideways and things like that. There's a little bit of that going on, especially towards the end. I kind of can gloss that because it is a wide release, like it's a wide release movie meant to be very accessible to a lot of people, and like not everybody is going in like hyper analytical the way that we are as people planning to review a movie. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of fair, but also just a little bit of a drag. I really wish that like the Buddy Guy scene was just like packaged with the rest of the movie. I don't know. This is probably me bringing baggage to the party a little bit because I'm fucking sick of credit sequences, man. I'm fucking sick of them. We don't need that shit. It made a kind of sense when it was teasing something going on or whatever, like moving on for like Marvel and shit like that. Or it was like a little funny joke at the end. It was the fucking Ferris Bueller thing at the end. You know, that's all fine and good, but it doesn't, like, that joke's played out. The teases don't, they just make fucking trailers. You don't need to make the movie the trailer, so that's out. And in this case, it's just like literally part of the fucking movie. Kind of a pretty impactful and important scene featuring a living legend that is just like, people can just miss because they think that the movie's over. I don't know. I don't love it, and I think that I don't know. It feels a little blockbustery to me in the sense that like if that feels like a studio note sort of deal to me, but I don't know if it was or not. I have no idea. So yeah, there's little things like that, little like just minor splintery edges to things here and there. I think that the action sequences are fun. I think that some of them are a little bit more chaotic than I would like. I don't know. I wish that there's maybe it's a little bit like lack of focus or whatever, or I was having a hard time keeping up. Maybe that was what they were going for because it is an action sequence. But I don't know. Some of that stuff I wish they could have let breathe just a little bit more. But ultimately, like that stuff's sold by everything before it. I'm happy with the length. I'm happy with the pace. I'm happy with the acting. I'm happy with the story. I'm happy with the thoughts that it generates in these conversations. What am I going to say about this movie besides I'm going to give it a 4.5, giving it just a 0.5 with room to grow for the future because it is still pretty fresh on the mind. I want to give it that space. I think I'm hard pressed not to do a 4.75 right now, but I'm really going to like try and give it some time to settle in.
I'll also say if you are into this genre, Juice, I know you're talking about really enjoying this Southern Gothic vibe. There's a book called Ring Shout that I've been listening to on audiobook that's about like if the KKK were actual demons. It's really interesting and definitely worth a read. Yeah, if, but check that out too.
Sweet. Juice, how do you feel?
Feel really good, Bob. Yeah, I feel in a similar kind of way. I almost actually talking about the endings. I do agree that there's too many endings. Everybody's got to get their send off and everything. You know what? Talking about what Randy was saying, it almost feels like a song that just fades out instead of just ending, where it feels a little unsatisfactory because you're like, well, you got to end the song, so in the song, you know, like. It almost feels I almost kind of don't want that scene. I thought the emotional resonance of him we have the scene where he's bloody and he leaves his father and then he's old and he's playing guitar and the music wraps it up. Like the music finishes the film. I kind of want it to just end there. Honestly, I don't need him to be tempted again. He's now shown me that he's an old man and hasn't given in to the temptation. So why do we need to tempt him one more time after the movie is finished? I don't know. I wasn't crazy about that. And yeah, one thing we didn't bring up is like there was definitely a lot of what is that movie called?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn. Thank you. No, from Dusk Till Dawn in here. We never really discussed that. But yeah, there's even though like this movie was long, I still think that there are moments or things that happened really quickly without the kind of thoughtful setup that was put into most of the film. Again, like I don't know how you work it in, but just to have the Choctaws in one scene, you see them as just this kind of tease felt like there are some things I agree that need to be. We don't need actual scenes in Chicago. We don't need those things as well as I think that they would be. You definitely don't need this for them for this film, but there were some moments where some extra stuff was included that made the film feel rich, but that were ultimately kind of like teased or left out. And so I'm like, it feels a little unsatisfactory. But overall, I think this movie's fantastic. It was such a pleasure to watch. I was just so giddy the whole time. 2.5 hours fucking flew by. And if this comes, I hope this comes to theaters in Korea. I would really love to go watch it in IMAX. And it was just a delight. So I'm going to echo that. I think it's got a little room to grow. I think I would love to see it in an IMAX theater and say like, oh yeah, this is definitely like a just really fantastic film. But right now I'm going to give it a 4.5. Not too many complaints, just small things, mostly towards the end and stuff. But yeah, really, really good.
One alteration that I actually would think about, like, I think that the ending with Buddy Guy, if you package it, I think maybe it just seemed like it was doing the Return of the King thing. It was like 3 distinctive endings back to back. But I think you could have done away with a lot of the KKK scene. Honestly, I think that if they had like 5 guys show up and then just smoke unceremoniously, like Tommy guns them all from the bushes or whatever, and they just fall over in silence, and then he sits down and has that last moment with the last guy. Like, it doesn't have to be as bombastic as it was. I think if they truncated that, maybe. But that's me
crazy,
like
dog,
trying to fix something that's not broke. So I don't know.
Bob, out of 5. Where are you going with Sinners?
I'm pretty much on the same page with you guys here. I love the characters that are in this movie and how they build them and how they interact. And that, like, just riding around town with the Smokestack Twins and Sammy is like, I could just do that for 3 hours and call that the movie. It's so damn satisfying when they finally get the juke up and running. Like, I just want to be there eating catfish, listening to the blues. It's just like, I don't know, you just want to hang out with these people. They feel like real people. They feel like interesting people. All of the like historical aspects seem to be handled with great care. Like, I had no idea that there were, Chinese immigrants that owned shops in, Mississippi in 1932. Just not something that really I had ever considered. And so like they clearly did a ton of research, and like all the history is there. You feel kind of like you're learning some stuff while you're on this like, incredible thrill ride, especially towards the end when the vampires show up. I think the way they handled the music was incredible. It's some of the best music I've heard in a movie in a long time. It feel that like the scene, almost feels like a music history lesson as you're like, following these characters as they bounce in and out of like time. It's just like such a beautiful choreographed moment, and the way the music like evolves throughout the scene is just kind of amazing, honestly, that they pulled it off the way they did. Like I said, I love the ending where the KKK just gets mowed down. The movie's, very metaphorical, but in that moment, it's like, in case you're not getting it, like, here it is. They just sort of mow those people down, and there's that beautiful moment with Annie and Smoke and their baby. It's all so satisfying the way it wraps up. I love the ending with Buddy Guy. I think I don't really care if it's like in the credits or part of the movie, honestly. But if I were going to try and defend the choice of keeping it in the credits, it's like it's the only time jump. It's the only segment we see that doesn't take place in 1932. So I don't know. Maybe that's why that choice was made. But if I had a complaint, is like some of the vampire stuff is like maybe a little hokey, maybe not super threatening, and just like not nailing the vampire side of things for me. But like, even if you just took the vampire stuff out of there and just it was a straight drama, it'd be like a fucking Oscar winner. And I'm wondering if this is gonna. I'm sure it's going to get nominated at least for the music, but if it's going to win, it very well might. I also love how Sammy dispatches what's his name, Rennick? Is that the
Remick?
Yeah, Remick. Oh, dispatches him with his guitar to the head, and that like metal plate. And the dobro just gets stuck as he like kills him with his music. It's just like fucking rad.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Love it. Just, movie's incredible. Just minor complaints. I'm sitting at a 4.5 out of 5, same as y'all, with room to grow over time. So obviously the aggregate is a 4.5. Let's jump over to our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say about Sinners.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, folks, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to have these people guess within the best of their abilities what the aggregate positive score is on RottenTomatoes.com for Sinners, starting as we always do with the critics, also known as the tomatometer, and then moving on to the users or the poopometer. So, starting with our critics, there are 365 reviews counted, one for each day of the year. Let's start with our esteemed guest today. All right, so Caitlin, what do you think those 365 reviewers are going to net out to in terms of aggregate positive scores?
I think it's going to be high. I think the users will be higher. So for critics, I'm going to go with my birth year, 89.
89, all right. That's a solid year. Let's go to Soju. Soju, what are you thinking?
I think that's going to be really high. That's a lot of critics, though. Well, I actually think the users will probably be lower than this. I think the critics are all going to like really praise it for a lot of like the skill going on here from a filmmaking standpoint. So we don't get a lot of opportunities to use this number. So I'm going to go 96.
96. All right. Bob, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be crazy high. 96 is a solid guess. I'll take the over. I'll take a 98 so that maybe we can tie.
98? You smug bastard. Well,
Okay.
that, as it turns out, is a really, really solid move. It is a 97. We got a split at the top.
Oh, nice.
Nicely
That
done.
is a skeet and yeet, Bob. Whoa.
Just what I wanted.
Hell yeah.
We got that in the movie, a skeet and you.
Hell yeah.
Whoa.
You found that button. Hey,
You sure did. Woo. Ice cream cone.
Jesus.
I love that.
Yeah, that makes perfect
There's
sense.
so much cunnilingus talk. Anyway, all right. Let's move over to the poopometer. Well done on that.
Nice.
We have
Good choice, Bob.
We have 25,000 plus verified ratings on this one, a large sample. I'm going to go in reverse order as we usually do. Bob, kick us off. Where are you thinking they're going to land?
I think it's going to be crazy high again. How high? I'm going to go with a 94%.
94. All right. Soju, how about you?
I think this one's going to be a little bit lower. So I'm going to say 89.
89 again. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Caitlin did the 89 last time. So,
Yes.
Caitlin, where are you coming in this time?
It's a lot of reviews. I will fall somewhere in the middle with a 92. The year that they
92.
visited Buddy Guy.
There you go. That's as good of a reason, isn't he? Well, one of you is 2 percentage points away from the correct answer. Just two singular percentage points, and that person is going to be it's going to be Bob. It's a 96. So Bob's taking this one.
Oh, I should have gone back.
Got him, Bob.
This was actually 1 percentage point lower than the critics. So there you go.
Damn.
All right. Nice.
Mm-hmm. But both extraordinarily high. It's actually got a
Yeah.
special emblem on here I've never seen before that I don't recall seeing. Certified hot or something like that. Verified hot rating.
This is a
That's because it's sexy.
It's hot. And yeah, this might have something to do with the cunnilingus talk.
It's all the
I just
cunning.
can't be sure.
All the kind of lingy.
Gotta get in that cunny sack. All right.
Juice, you are.
disgusting. I wish I had said that.
Damn.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well,
I've always been a creeper.
Boy does love some ice cream. Damn.
I do, yeah.
He's a
I've had a
cream
lot
boy.
of practice eating ice cream, boys.
Eating ass cream. Yes.
well,
I will eat your ass.
I'll eat your ass, ladies.
Cream.
man, we are just not beating
Just
around the
ladies, though. To be very clear.
bush. Look. All right. Let's read a couple negative reviews because, believe it or not, they do exist on this website. Here we go. While often insightful about the way we're tempted and how evil can be naively trifled with, Coogler's movie doesn't have a robust view of indwelling sin and moral culpability.
What?
Okay, this is okay. Well, here we and that I was like, "What the fuck?" And then I read this is from the Gospel Coalition, whatever that publication is. So this is a gospel point of view.
He should have put the guitar down, and they would have fucking loved it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he had put the guitar down at the end, buddy,
5 stars.
Too much ass eating. They said.
Okay. Oh, this one's
Out of
gonna
wedlock.
be great.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Here we go. Coogler's one-dimensional rehash of Black American history degrades the legacy of the Southern blues. And I will give you no dollars if you can tell me who wrote this review. I'm genuinely shocked that nobody's piping in. This is the most famous hot takes poo-poo head in the entire fucking critical spectrum. Armand White, famous for just shitting on beloved movies, universally loved movies, and loving shit that like Uwe Boll makes or whatever.
I don't know who that is.
His whole career is to be a contrarian.
His last name
surprising.
is White, you say.
He is not white himself. True to the contrarian nature of his reviews, he is also a black man named White.
Well, I'll shut up.
Well, there you go.
So there we go. That's all we got. I don't know. We don't have to go any further than that. We already hit like fucking public enemy #1 of critics. So cool. Bob, you got trivia for us?
There is so much trivia for this movie. It's kind of crazy.
What?
Let's
do it.
It's totally time for trivia.
Yeah, for being a new movie, there's like hundreds of pieces of trivia for this. So I skimmed through it and chose some stuff, and Caitlin helped me out during the episode already, so thank you for that. But yeah, we mentioned From Dusk Till Dawn. Coogler said two of the bigger influences on this movie were From Dusk Till Dawn and also The Faculty, so a big Robert Rodriguez fan, I suppose. He also said another inspiration for the movie is a lesser-known episode of The Twilight Zone called Truthful... this is a quote from him. He says, "Truthfully, the biggest influences are not in cinema. Salem's Lot, the novel, is a massive influence on the film. Then there's a really deep cut, which is his favorite episode of The Twilight Zone, called The Last Rites of Jeff Myrtlebank, which is not something I've ever seen. It's in the 3rd season of The Twilight Zone, and it centers on Myrtlebank, a young man living in a small town in the southernmost section of the Midwest who mysteriously returns to life at his own funeral, much to the shock of his loved ones and pastor." I meant to watch that before this episode, but I have not yet. Have any of you guys seen that?
No,
That's cool though.
Yeah.
I'm underseen on the entire franchise of Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I need to do a deep dive on the old Twilight Zone.
So
Twilight, you say?
I'm sorry, Team who? Team Serling.
Here's a little bit about the music here. The unusually large and complex scoring orchestra has a number of exceptionally talented credited musicians who are each individually quite famous in their own right. For example, 2 of the credited drummers are Cedric Burnside. He's a Mississippi blues legend, the grandson of blues singer, songwriter, and guitarist R.L. Burnside. And also, your boy Lars Ulrich from Metallica.
What?
Was one of the drummers for some reason.
What?
Blues legend Bobby
Lars.
I know. Another blues legend
From Metallica.
Bobby Rush is a credited harmonica player. Rhiannon Giddens, founding member of the country blues old time music band called Carolina Chocolate Drops. And obviously Buddy Guy as well. Some other notable musicians, but just a few off the top there for you. Apparently, the Smokestack Twins got their name from Smokestack Lightnin', which is a song by Howlin' Wolf, which is in this song, or the song is in this movie too. What else we got here? In April 20...
Classic blues tune.
No, it doesn't sound that good. It doesn't. That's blues. I mean...
The boys are here to play. God damn, dude, that song.
It's an endless wealth of humor
It's
for me.
so fucking stupid. So, God, I can't wait for football now. It's so terrible. It's unbelievable how bad that song is.
Gets me amped. Gets me in the mood.
This is going to need a minute.
Talking about like this rich music and like how well it's orchestrated and these and just that shit ass song. It's trying to talk about football.
Well, I'm gonna go smear some mud on my ass.
Damn.
Oh man. Ooh, that got me good.
In April 2025 interview with Tanya Mosley on the National Public Radio program Fresh Air, director Ryan Coogler said that he first became aware of the long history of Chinese Americans in the Mississippi Delta about a decade prior, when he and his family did one of those at-home DNA tests, and his father-in-law, who considers himself African American, unexpectedly had a large percentage of Han Chinese DNA, which is
damn
surprising, man. Like I said, I had no idea.
I'm probably Korean, you know?
Probably.
Well, I mean,
most likely.
Probably like 75%.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I don't want to give up my blood, so we'll never.
Well, your name is
for
Soju,
sure.
So, I mean,
Classic white guy in Korea.
family name.
Yep. I'm probably more Korean than all you sitting around me right now.
Probably. We'll just assume that I am.
Let's all assume.
Stealing the culture. Sammy's guitar is said to have belonged to blues legend Charlie Patton. Patton was often said to be of Irish, Choctaw, and African American descent, the three ethnic groups mentioned at the beginning of the film. Parts of Patton's ancestry is known for certain, but it's generally agreed upon that he had black, white, and native heritage, including the Choctaw people. So, real blues legend there, who was a mixture of all these ethnicities. And they actually, I think they turned that around in the towards the end of the movie. I forget who says it, but the guitar, I guess, just belonged to the Smokestack Twins' father.
Dad. Yeah, Smoke's like, that wasn't Charlie Patton's guitar.
Yeah.
I love that. It's just
Stack's
one more
full of
gag
shit.
from Stack. Yeah.
Which is interesting because like we never meet their dad. They kill him, but apparently he was a terrible person. So like handing that guitar down and him sort of like, you know, communing with the devil with his music in a way. It's an interesting. I don't know. It's just another layer in the movie that's kind of cool. On Spotify, in the About section for the artist called Sinner's Movie, there are Easter eggs in the form of 3 newspaper clippings. So if you pull up the About the Artist section and you just start swiping to the right, you'll see these newspaper articles. And the first front page that you see is from a Boston newspaper, and it describes a mysterious discovery in the Boston harbor of an Irish immigrant ship that turned up completely devoid of life. Sounds kind of familiar, right? The
Dude, that's like, holy shit, that's Dracula shit.
It is Dracula shit.
That's
That
cool.
is Dracula.
The ship's cabin was burned down, and there was blood everywhere, but there were no people on board the ship, despite reports that lights and music were seen and heard the night before originating from the ship. The final key point is that an eyewitness saw one man taking off from the ship. His skin was smoking as he ran away. The story clearly is about Remick, and apparently it's dated 1911. So I guess he got to the States around 1911. And yeah, clearly totally riffing on vampire lore.
So that's
classic vampire
20
lore.
years before this film.
Yeah, 1932 is when the movie takes place. So.
Cool.
He got down to the South and perfected his accent for when he needed to go, sorry.
We got 2 prequel movies right there. We're going to Chicago and we're going to the boat.
Going to the boat.
Let me get that boat movie.
When Remick says, he's like, now I'm just going to turn around and walk real slow. And then he looks back with like puppy dog eyes. That shit was so funny. Like,
I didn't realize that was Jack O'Connell.
Yeah,
it's
man.
been a while since I've seen him in anything. He did a good job.
What is he from?
He was originally in Skins, Eden Lake.
Oh,
He
okay,
was the Dick in Eden Lake.
He was the
right.
dick in Eden Lake.
He was. He's been a lot of things.
You know,
The Dick. You know.
Yeah.
I heard that he desperately wanted to do an Irish jig in a movie, and he really wanted to sing Rocky Road to Dublin. And Ryan Coogler and Ludwig Göransson were like, "We're gonna make it happen for you, buddy." And I love that.
Apparently, he's also in 28 Years Later. If he's in the two of the biggest horror movies this year, that's going to be nuts. Wow. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
In exchange for the distribution rights to the film, director Ryan Coogler was also reportedly asking studios for first dollar gross final cut privilege and ownership of the film 25 years after its release, which he would be granted. The following month, Warner Brothers won the distribution rights. He got all that shit. I saw these like crazy articles come out after this movie dropped about how like Hollywood's gonna break because they gave Coogler everything he wanted now, and there's no way people can make any money. And like this movie's like making fucking an insane amount of money. Like, yeah, just ridiculous. You know, people on the internet being crazy. This had, from what I saw on the internet, about $100 million budget. Who knows exactly how accurate that is? But last I looked on Box Office Mojo, it had grossed $329 million worldwide. So it's doing fine.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
This is the sixth horror film to pass $200 million in the United States. And in U.S. and Canada ticket sales, it also stands as the highest grossing original film domestically since Coco, apparently, in 2017.
Oh, really?
There you go. It is the fifth highest grossing original horror film worldwide after The Sixth Sense, Signs, A Quiet Place, The Conjuring, and then this.
Damn.
There you go.
Deserved.
Yeah. And that is about all I got for you guys. There's more out there if you want it, though. There's a ton of trivia. Shall we go ahead and get into our Cooter of the week?
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Well, Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are, Caitlin, think you can rattle them off? We're giving you a lot of work.
Every time that I listen to Straight Chilling, which I do every week, I'll like say them along with you, and I'm like, I'm hitting it every beat, like I'm doing it in the Juice cadence even. But when I'm on the show, I'm like, So let's see: smug arrogance, manipulation, overall look and attire, overall patheticness, and
the sexy one.
Did we say smug arrogance?
Sexual deviance.
Sexual deviance.
There we go.
Very good.
There's a lot of sexual deviance in this movie.
Whoa, I know. But it's all on the level, I think.
Yeah, it's all
Consensual,
it's all above board.
but,
above board.
You know.
Who's Cooterific?
I guess one affair is taking place, but
Yeah, there is at least one. Yeah.
yeah.
Remick?
Sure. I
mean,
guess.
that's the
How
honest answer.
dare you? My boy Remick. No way.
Manipulation. Let's just start
sure.
Yeah.
He do be lying.
He do be lying. And you know, I think that
Did
what
he
he does with
lie?
Haley Stanfield. Yeah.
Well, he lied when he was
pretended
like
that
he was being hunted by, or he was like, my wife, I left her behind.
Oh yeah. Okay,
we
that's
don't
fair,
mean
yeah.
y'all any
Any
harm.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's
Immediately eats a man.
Yeah.
Who could
Well,
blame him?
in his perspective, he's giving them eternal life. Oh, which is another thing I want to mention in my review. Bob brought up the idea of like the music. You could go like back in time, but that's kind of another thing too of like music being immortal, tying into vampires and stuff.
Yeah.
That was cool. Anyways, yes. So manipulation, smug arrogance, maybe.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
No sexual deviance that I'm aware of from his end. Overall patheticness. I mean, you know you're a vampire. You probably shouldn't be standing out in a field as the sun's coming up. I mean, you know what's going to happen.
One detail that someone brought up on, this is not an original discovery. This was a TikTok I saw, but he's wearing a wedding band. And that story he feeds to the couple at the beginning where he's like, I was a coward. I left my wife. That there might have been some truth to that, but just in a different setting, like back, hundreds of years ago. So maybe there was some patheticness in him cowardly leaving his wife behind. Maybe.
Patheticness. Okay.
I just feel terrible for slandering my boy.
Nah.
Well,
so he's got at least 3.
Yeah, his attire's fine.
Attire's fine.
Yeah.
And he can dance. So
He can dance
If
for
he
sure.
wants to, he can leave your friends behind.
leave his wife behind, I guess.
You can leave his wife behind. That's for damn
He
sure.
can leave his wife behind.
He's no friend of mine.
All right. Is there anybody? Oh, how about the KKK guy?
Hogwood, is that his name?
Dude, Hogwood.
Hogwood.
There's
That
no
dude.
more fucking Southern Ku Klux Klan member name in
Yes.
the world.
The way I love hate how he answers their questions by just spitting on the ground. Like they're like Hogwood, and he just spits on the ground as like an affirmative. And they walk in like, did you clean up these floors? What were on these floors? And he just spits on the floor, and it's just the nastiest motherfucker.
Hate him.
God damn. Yeah,
This is the one I want to lock up. He's manipulative because he's lying and he's planning to ambush them.
Sure. Yep.
He's pathetic because at the end he looks like
Because he's in the
pathetic
Ku
piece of
Klux Klan.
shit. Yeah, because he's in the KKK.
No further
What?
explanation needed.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
And he's smug about his plan, I would say.
And looking at tired Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah,
I mean, those sheets are not flattering. Ooh.
Yeah.
So
check.
we
Lock him
got
up.
him.
Lock him
Everything
Yeah, let's
but
lock
maybe
that.
the sexual deviance, but it doesn't matter. We're not
Yeah.
around him long enough.
You heard
I'm
it here
sure he's
first.
got
If
it.
you heard it here first. If you are in the Ku Klux Klan, you are far more of a cooter than a vampire. Done.
True. Yeah. Rimmick's
Yeah.
fine. He can dance. Caitlin gave him a pass, so he's
up. Yeah. He's cool. He's with me, guys.
Done.
anybody
All right.
else?
Fuck it.
I think, that's the only ones that stand out to me.
Hogwood.
Everybody else is in the gray zone of morality, but I don't know if anybody else is hitting that cooter vibe for me at all.
Yeah. We
All
love
right.
that gray zone of morality.
Oh, we love that gray zone.
Medium to loose morality.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, the loose morality.
More on the loose end there, but
Yeah, it's a little on the looser end.
Yeah.
we are eating ass over here, you know.
Oh man, yeah.
Consensual
Especially
ass.
you put a scoop of ice cream in there. Whoa, I'm going to town.
Don't do that. You'll get a UTI.
Say,
Oh, my
how cold do you want your asshole to be?
With ass.
Oh God, it's so cold. Eat it quicker. You got any hot fudge? Want some?
It's in there, buddy. Don't worry.
It's in the middle. Man, that's gross. All right, I think we got
dingleberries after last night's affair.
I think we got him. Hogwood's our cooter of the week.
Jesus Christ, what is wrong with us?
Nothing.
Let's take a moment and just talk about what else we've been watching.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Caitlin, what you been watching?
I've been watching a few things. I rewatched Companion because I'm going to be doing an episode on it. So I rewatched that this morning. I watched the movie The Surrender, which is a 2025 release that's on Shudder as of right now. And it was pretty good. It was pretty scary. If you've seen the movie A Dark Song, which has a lot to do with the occult and the Abramelin ritual and necromancy, it's a lot like A Dark Song, and it was pretty scary. It gave me nightmares, so I would watch that. Definitely want to cover it on the show too. And I watched Fear Street, I think it's 1988, Prom Queen, the new Fear Street movie that came out on Netflix, and I enjoyed it. So been watching quite a few things. And I saw Final Destination Bloodlines in theaters, which I had a blast with and enjoyed the minicast.
Oh,
Nice. Yeah, that's a fun one. Thanks for listening to the minicast.
Hey, it was a good one.
Cool. Ray and Diesel, what you been watching?
Yeah, not a ton of shift from last time, but a couple of new entries. So still playing that Legends of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom wherever I can squeeze in a few minutes. It's a lot of fun. Still fun. The Rehearsal, I need to catch up. I'm a couple episodes behind, but I'm still fucking enjoying the shit out of that. That is still a show that just defies explanation. There's a true crime documentary called Fred and Rose West, a British horror story that's on Netflix. And buddy, I had never heard of this story. It is supremely fucked.
They're bad.
It is
They're
a
real
very
bad.
fucked. It's one of the worst true crime stories I've heard in a while, personally. I also watched a horror short that I thought was pretty good called Robbie Ain't Right No More.
Oh shit!
Which I think you should check out. It's on YouTube. It's got the girl from There's a
got too many blues. Ain't right no more.
Right, he made a deal with the blues man devil down at the crossroads.
Down at the crossroads.
I don't remember her name, but the girl from the Black Phone is in it. The little girl, but she's a little bit older. Madeline McGraw is in it.
The big black phone of time.
The big black phone of time. Yes.
Love that.
So
movie.
I'd recommend that. It's a nice, tidy 20 minutes or something. It's not bad. And then The Ugly Stepsister, which is quickly rising the ranks in my best of the year situation. And then last but probably least, actually, it was a movie I threw on kind of while I had to do other things too. So in fairness, I did not give it my full attention, but I threw on Venom with Klaus Kinski on Shudder.
Oh shit.
Which is a movie featuring a real black mamba that they that's written into the story. There's a black mamba. Klaus Kinski is some sort of like criminal who's holding hostages or whatever while a black mamba is on the loose in this apartment complex. It's not great.
I saw that movie about a plane one time.
Yeah, it's I'm sure that there's some crossover there. You know, snakes. What other
Klaus
movies have
Kinski
snakes
on a
in them?
plane?
Just those two. Klaus Kinski on a plane. Yeah, that's a great movie. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Klaus Kinski's work. I know that he's like the 70s Nosferatu, which I have not yet watched, and I know that he is famously a bit of a pain in the ass, or maybe an outright villain to work with. I feel like I've heard things like that to that end, but this movie was like pretty forgettable, if I'm being honest. That's about it for me.
Cool. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched the newest season of Love, Death, and Robots, which came out on Netflix. I think it's season 4. I'm pretty sure I've covered all 3 previous seasons as minicasts, so I'll probably do one on this one. It's a mixture. It's not always horror. They're all animated shorts though. And this one, I will say you could probably skip the first episode, which was a really weird, it's just Can't Stop by Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it's
I saw it too. It's just a music video.
Yeah, it's just them as puppets. It's just a song. Nothing else happens. It's really weird. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's the first episode too.
If it was like all animation or some actual stop motion anime, I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird, really weird. So just skip past that one. But there were some gems. There were some good gems in there. Some of my favorite ones were the horror-based ones. But yeah, I'll probably talk about that one soon. Also still going through Peaky Blinders. I am on season 2 now, where Tom Hardy is introduced. And I watched, I think, about half of Presence. I'm trying to catch up on some of maybe the better horror from this year, because there hasn't been a whole lot. So yeah, I'm watching that one, and it's pretty good so far. Pretty interesting. That's it. That's all I've been watching. Bob, what you been watching?
Just a couple things. I've been watching some episodes of Parts Unknown, Anthony Bourdain's Parts Unknown, because apparently season 7 I just had never seen before, so I threw an episode on and I was like, this is not familiar, and then I just blasted through the whole season. I was like, somehow I just skipped this one season in the show. I don't know how.
Weird.
So that was a nice little discovery. I watched that, and I really the only other thing I have to mention is that Fear Street prom night whatever on Netflix. I didn't love it. I wasn't a huge fan of it, TBH. But it's like a slasher, 1980s slasher pastiche kind of thing. I've seen worse, but it mainly just made me want to watch like actual 80s slashers more than anything, to be honest. But that's really about it. The Sopranos, per usual.
What, dude? You watch Sopranos a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Finished up The Wire. I know that. So you got to put that energy somewhere.
Yeah, we did finish up The Wire. Yeah, you got it. What are you going to do after The Wire? You just got to watch The Sopranos again. That's just what you got to do. That's all I've been watching. We do have one voicemail, so let's jump over into our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you guys would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We got one voicemail. We're going to hear from our friend Slytoski. Let's hear what he's got to say.
What up, Straight Chillin' crew? It's your boy Slytoski Stains. Just listened to your episode on Milk and Cereal yesterday after rewatching it, and I agree with your thoughts overall. It's an awesome movie, and after I first saw that, I also saw a lot of Cooper and Curry's comedy shorts on YouTube. Those are great too. And so, calling about pranks. When I was about 13, my mom led a girls group at our church, and they were maybe a couple of years younger than I was. And one evening they came over to our house for a bonfire. And being a juvenile young man, I had to do something with a group of girls there. So there used to be this criminal mental asylum about a town over from us. And I think it had been in the news recently. I think it was shutting down around that time. And so I found a fake newspaper article generator online, and I made one saying that a violent patient had broken free, found an axe, and had last been spotted in our neighborhood. So I printed that out and took it out to my mom, who I'd told about the joke before. I went back inside, and about a minute later, I just heard panic ensue from the backyard, and they were all rushing to get inside. And shortly after that, my mom spoiled the fun and told them about the joke. And it went better than I thought. I didn't know if they would even buy it, since our small town hadn't put out an evening newspaper ever. And there was no print on the back of the article either, so that somehow worked. And after that, my mom told me that one of the girls in the group said if I started writing horror, she would read me over Stephen King. So that's like one of two compliments I've gotten in my life that stuck with me and actually meant something. And of course, I haven't done anything really since then, but maybe someday I'll get back to writing. So that was my prank for the ages of 10 to 12. So love you guys. Keep chilling. I'll hear from you soon.
Look out, Steve King. Here comes Slytoski. Take the crown.
Just a poser, that's
rad.
Steve King.
If you do a lot of blow, you too can put out 400 novels.
You can
let me get on that,
baby.
Direct maximum overdrive.
You know what? You're right.
The real move is to do more blow than is responsible or even possible in your life. No, that's not true.
Success.
Yeah, that's a pretty good prank. They were, like, when I was a kid, I was not part of this prank. I was just adjacent to it. But my sister's first slumber party, they had they watched When a Stranger Calls, the 70s edition of that. And so my dad called them in the fever pitch of the movie from his car phone, because that was still a novel thing. So the caller ID was no number listed. What? And they were very, very confused, and said the famous line, "Have you checked the children?" And they screamed. I was sitting in the back with my dad, listening to them scream about it. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, slumber party pranks, that shit's classic.
Slumber parties are ripe for that kind of shit. I feel like when I look back, a tween girl slumber party is some of the most occultist shit. We're like playing light as a feather, stiff as a board. We're playing telling ghost stories. You're telling serial killer shit. It's ripe for that kind of stuff.
Ouija boards.
Ouija boards. Hey, baby.
Summoning demons.
Burn books. All this demonic shit.
Burn books.
But I like this prank that he's describing because it's all in good fun. I get sensitive about some pranks because I think that they're so mean spirited, but this one sounds like it was all in good fun, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, well done. Call in again next week, 904-638-3231. If you got any prank stories, hit us up. Let us know. Blues recommendations, perhaps. You got any blues musicians you really dig? Drop those recs. I don't know. Any other questions or prompts you guys want to pose for next week?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't remember what movie we're talking about.
We're talking about Bring Her Back next week.
Yeah,
so
new
a
release.
little bit of an unknown for me. Have not seen a trailer. Will not see a trailer.
Me deuce.
How do you eat ice cream?
Yeah.
Out of
Your
what
favorite
orifice,
ice cream
dude?
topping?
How big is your bowl, if you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You a cone or a bowl kind of gal?
Yeah.
How whipped is that cream?
Ice cream preferences or kinks.
It always comes back to the cream.
Always.
See it every day.
Full quote for the episode.
I might have some cream today. It's a hot day.
Ooh.
So plump, so right.
Go nuts. 904-638-3231.
Well said.
Hit us up. We're going to be reviewing Bring Her Back next week. It's a brand new release, going to be hitting theaters this Friday. From the directors of Talk to Me, the Philippou brothers. They're back in the saddle again, scaring the pants off us, hopefully. Good early buzz so far. I guess they did some sneak previews, and some folks in our Slack channel have seen it. They're bound to secrecy, but apparently they really liked it. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep, going in blind again. It's the only way to do it.
Hell yeah, I agree. Caitlin, thanks again so much for sitting in with us. Love having you on. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. This was a great time. Love you guys. Love Sinners.
Hell yeah. Don't forget to check out
Likewise.
Plug It Up everywhere you get your podcasts. And check out Bring Her Back. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Tell him it's open season on all suckheads.